So acidity is the first step for good enzyme production. We need good acid to stimulate the enzymes. Remember, the enzymes won't work unless we're in a nice acidic environment. So good acidity. If we don't have acidity, we could be in this fight or flight state because our body shuts off digestion, it shuts off secretion because it's shunting blood flow and resources to the arms, to the legs to fight and flight, fight, flight, or flee. And so we have to get more parasympathetic. So anything we can do to relax the adrenals, whether it's breathing, meditation, appreciation, good sinus breathing, good healthy anti-inflammatory foods. These put us in a parasympathetic state, which then allows that blood to say, hey, we don't have to mobilize blood to our muscles and our arms to fight and flee. Let's bring it back to the core. And now our juices are flowing. Now we can start to make that good acidity. Now that we have more juices to lower that acidity, that pH. So low pH equals high acidity. So they're kind of opposite things. So if I say low pH, that's acid, low pH, high acidity. Okay. So they don't get confusing. That's going to raise that acidity, lower that pH. That's going to start to activate the proteolytic enzymes and get the digestive cascade moving. Now, also, we have other enzymes being produced down the track. So we also have things like our proteolytic enzymes being made by the pancreas. So we need that nice low pH in the stomach. All that food that's mixed up is now called chyme. That chyme gets released into the small intestine. That triggers a release of bicarbonate by the pancreas, which is essentially baking soda. And that brings that pH back up to 7 so you don't get a peptic ulcer. And that works on the stimulation of the pancreas to make a whole bunch of proteolytic enzymes, proteases, that's protein digestive enzymes, lipolytic enzymes, or lipase, that's fat digestive enzymes. And most of the carbohydrate stuff's going to happen more in the mouth, maybe just a little bit in the stomach. So not as much on the carb side in the small intestine. Gastrin also plays an important role in the stomach, typically with acid secretion as well. So that's kind of the big step there out of the gates. You really need that good hydrochloric acid, good enzyme. We have to make sure the adrenals aren't overstimulating. You have to make sure you're not doing things that are driving inflammation in the body. Inflammation in the body at micro levels can create a fight or flight response. So if you're eating foods that are allergenic, that's a problem. If you're making your blood sugar go up and down, too much carbs, too much processed foods, too much flours, too much grains, too much inflammatory fats, that could trigger a little bit of a fight or flight state in the body. And so you have to be aware of that. Obviously, also, if you have a chronic inflammatory state from infections, that could be a problem. If you have a chronic inflammatory state from mold or mycotoxins or a toxin in the environment, whether it's heavy metals or pesticides or Roundup or glyphosate, these are all kind of various vectors of inflammation that could be putting you in that fight or flight state. So you want to be a detective of all kinds of inflammatory inputs, and you want to do things to really open up that parasympathetic, whether it's appreciation, meditation, good, clean, inflammatory food, anti-inflammatory foods. Sometimes even fasting can be helpful, especially if you've been eating a whole bunch of inflammatory foods. Just resting the gut can be helpful.